Good evening, you're watching Lord of Lords and the Indian innings has concluded at Old Trafford in Manchester. Did we get 100 from Virat Kohli? Not quite, though he did become the fastest to 20,000 runs in international cricket. There was a 50 for MS Dhoni, but the Indian innings stopped at 268 for the loss of 7 wickets. MS Dhoni got to his 72nd ODI 50. It was the 53rd ODI 50 for Virat Kohli. KL Rahul yet again failed to convert a start. 48 is what KL Rahul got, but could not convert it into a 50 score. As far as West Indies is concerned, will they be content with that performance? This was supposed to be a wicket which was said to be great for batting. We have seen scores of almost 291 being chased down by the West Indies on this wicket against New Zealand just a few days back. So maybe West Indies bowlers had a decent enough outing. They were able to restrict India at one point of time in the middle. We didn't really see a lot of runs coming from the bat. Yes, MS Dhoni took his time to settle down, but in the end, because Dhoni stayed on, he was unbeaten. He finished with a 6. He ultimately ended up getting 56 runs from 61 deliveries. They included 3 boundaries and a couple of sixes. So as we've always been saying, MS Dhoni needs that time to settle in the middle, and once he does, he can of course produce those big shots, and that's what he did. Hardik Pandya too played a decent cameo. He was hitting the ball, but he fell just short of 52. Similar to KL Rahul, Hardik Pandya was dismissed for 46 and KL Rahul for 48. The big question, though, will be surrounding that number 4 position. There was yet again an opportunity for Vijay Shankar today when India lost both their openers. He came and he was sort of starting to build a partnership with Virat Kohli. But after scoring 14 runs, Vijay Shankar fell. And this is again going to bring up that number 4 position. Should Rishabh Pant be included into the 11? Does he deserve to bat at number 4 ahead of Vijay Shankar, who's being preferred because of his all-round capabilities but didn't really get to bowl in the last match? So those are the questions that the Indian team will be pondering upon. Will they be happy with 268? Maybe, because after all, the Indian bowling was able to defend an even smaller total. Yes, it was against Afghanistan. West Indies do have the biggest hitters. Carlos Brathwaite, what he really did against New Zealand will be something that will be on the back of their minds. But before we talk about all of that, let us just tell you how the Indian batsmen performed against West Indies today.
It wasn't the start India had expected.
Yeah, I've got conclusive evidence.
But the third umpire was fairly quick to adjudge Rohit Sharma out caught behind. KL Rahul and Virat Kohli took India closer to the 100-run mark.
Well done. This is absolutely brilliant.
Before Jason Holder breezed through the opener's drive, 2 short of his 50.
To get the 50, but 48's a decent contribution. Jason Holder caps off a good spell.
A single off Holder took Virat Kohli to 20,000 international runs, the fastest man to get to this feat as well.
And Statterman.
Outside edge, and he strikes.
Kemar Roach made further inroads in the Indian middle order, dismissing Vijay Shankar and Kedar Jadhav in quick succession.
But there's just a murmur, but that's good enough.
Virat was once again fighting a lone battle and got to his 4th successive half-century of this World Cup.
Second time round as well.
It could have been worse had Shai Hope not messed up this opportunity to stump Dhoni.
So clearly, he's feeling the pressure. Slightly difficult time for Dhoni, the batsman.
Kohli, who is known to convert those 50s into 100s,
Oh, he's found the fielder.
for the 4th time missed out on what could have been his 42nd ODI century. Reeling at 180 for 5, Hardik Pandya provided India the impetus they needed with a 37-ball 46, helping his team go past the 250-run mark. As Dhoni put his initial struggle behind and got to his half-century to guide India to a much respectable score. Sports Bureau, India Today.
A terrific shot.
Boria Majumdar now joins us from Old Trafford in Manchester. Now, Boria, we were speaking before the start of the Indian innings, and you said don't be surprised if India is 40 in the first 10 overs. You need to keep the wickets, and it's towards the end that they'll consolidate. They've ended with 268. We saw 291 almost being chased down on this pitch by the West Indies. Do you think this is a power score as far as Kemar Roach is concerned? He feels that West Indies can chase this down.
You know, Radhika, the pitch today is much drier. I was having a chat with a lot of former cricketers in the commentary box. one of them, for example, Saurav Ganguly, kept telling me that the wicket is very dry. He kept saying that the wicket is seriously dry and the two spinners will definitely come into play. Something that Virat Kohli said even at the top, that, the wicket will, with this baking sun here in Old Trafford today, the wicket will dry up and the spinners will big time come into play. So that's something that the Indians know that will happen, something that will inevitably sort of tilt the balance of the game. Question is, how quickly can you get Chris Gayle out? If you get Chris Gayle out as soon as possible at the start of the innings, then all of these equations come into play. But if Chris Gayle gets a start, then everything goes for a toss. So the key question is, how quickly can India get Gayle and get a couple of wickets up front? Because if they do that, then the spinners will definitely come into play.
You're talking about Chris Gayle, of course, like we keep talking about Virat Kohli, he's also nearing a landmark. Chris Gayle needs 40-odd runs to become the highest run getter for West Indies in one-day international cricket. We really hope that he doesn't get that start. Now, before we talk about Chris Gayle, Boria, let's talk about the Indian batting, and we'll start with the man who did deliver. Virat Kohli scaled that 20k mountain today, became the fastest. 417 innings is what Virat Kohli's taken to reach that mark. He's left behind Sachin, Tendulkar and Lara, becomes only the third Indian to do so. Fourth consecutive 50 in the World Cup. We know he's batting really well, but he was frustrated when he got out today because he's not being able to convert those 50s into hundreds. We've not really seen this of Virat Kohli in a very long time.
Agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, it's just that, that one false shot after playing a magical kind of innings. And if you see, he waited almost about 30 seconds after he got out because it was really disappointing and frustrating for Virat. So I absolutely agree with you. Something is going wrong after he crosses 70. That 70 to 80 jinx is what's catching up with Virat. It's not happened for a long, long time, but as long as his team keeps winning, that's the most important thing, Radhika. The 100 can come in the semi-finals. We won't mind. But let the Indian team win thanks to the 70. That's all that matters. This is a very, very important game because India can seal its semi-final berth. And unless that happens, this is a problem. This is a real problem because, you've got to get to the semi-finals. You don't want to keep till the England game. You don't want to wait for too late till the Bangladesh game. The fact of the matter is you want to close it out.
So what Boria is really referring to is that if India win today, they get to 11 points on the table, which will bring them level with New Zealand, but with a game in hand. 11 should almost get you through. 12, though, is the mark. Australia is the only team which has qualified for the semi-finals. But if India win today, it is almost certain that they will make it to the semi-finals. Boria, stay on with us. Rahul joins us from the newsroom as well. Now, Rahul, we were watching the match, and one of the first things that struck us, of course, Virat Kohli's played a great innings, but what we were disappointed with and what KL Rahul will be disappointed with, what Virat Kohli will be disappointed with, is the fact that KL Rahul yet again got a start but was not able to convert. This is where India probably misses Shikhar Dhawan, and heading into the business end of the tournament, you need your openers to give you those great starts because that's what Shikhar Dhawan and Rohit Sharma have been able to do for a very long time. So KL Rahul would be a disappointed man today.
Hitting those big boundaries, in fact, big runs, the centuries, especially in tournaments like these, the World Cup, the ICC tournaments. Yes, KL Rahul, last time against Afghanistan he played, he tried to be a little too adventurous, but this time he was completely beaten by pace and the movement.
But Virat Kohli, yes, even he is known to convert those 50s into hundreds. It was brilliant on his part to get to those 20,000 international runs, the fastest man to do that. But the other teams, if you compare the other teams, the Bangladesh, the Pakistanis, Australians for that matter, these teams are actually peaking at the right time towards the business end of the tournament. And on the other hand, if you see India, their middle order has been exposed. Of course, MS Dhoni played a very mature knock, you can say. Towards the end, he did accelerate. But in the middle, besides, there'll be questions raised maybe Kedar Jadhav, Vijay Shankar. I don't know if because in the last match he didn't get to bowl. So if he doesn't get to bowl, if his captain doesn't trust him, trust with his bowling so much, then maybe get somebody like Rishabh Pant or Dinesh Karthik, who've been cooling their heels in the sidelines. So obviously there is a lot to ponder over as far as this Indian team and especially the Indian batting is concerned. 267, 268 on the board. India will still fancy their chances considering the spinners that they have in their ranks. But yes, there are a few issues that need to be ironed out.
Boria, let's pick up from where Rahul really botched that question, highlighting the fact that the number 4 position for India has been debated for a long time. There have been people who've come in, you've had sureties, then there have been people who've not performed, you've dropped them, you've got somebody else. Now Vijay Shankar has, it's great that the team has shown faith in him for a while. Now he's got the opportunity. There was a time when he wasn't really getting to bat. Now he's batting at number 4, the position that is meant for him. He once again got a start today. 14 runs is what he scored. There was an opportunity. Wickets were down. The team needed a partnership. Virat Kohli was at the other end. It was a tailor-made opportunity for Vijay Shankar today to deliver, to make a significant contribution. Now with what he's done and the fact that Rahul also pointed out, he did not really bowl in the last match. So where does that three-dimensional quality of his come into play? Is that something that is going to be considered heading into the game against England? Your middle order has problems. Number 4 is a very crucial position. Will you get a Rishabh Pant into the 11?
Yeah, I mean, how long will you persist with Vijay Shankar, Kedar Jadhav, and if you don't deliver, then it becomes the business end of the tournament. If you have to blood someone in, it will also depend on the outcome of this game. Because if you do not win this one, then you're under pressure against England. And if you lose England, then you get, all of these things will come into the equation. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Vijay Shankar, multiple opportunities. Again, the swinging ball and edge to the wicket-keeper, 14. He's gotten starts. He's gotten a 20. He's gotten a 14. So unless Vijay Shankar gives you consistent runs, when are you going to play Rishabh Pant? Because you've got to get Rishabh Pant into the mix, and he's not a magician. You've got to give him a couple of games. This is becoming tricky for India. This is really tricky. I mean, Kedar Jadhav and Vijay Shankar, you've got to have them score runs for you. MS Dhoni once again got stuck at the start today. He was 17 of 32, 33 balls. So there's a big problem. And yeah, eventually he sort of recovered. But I thought that middle partnership between Dhoni and Virat and Hardik, and before that Kedar and Vijay's wicket, has cost India 20 runs. Now, if Chris Gayle gets off to a flyer, this will not be enough. That is the problem.
You're talking about...
That is a serious problem, Radhika. I mean, India has to get it right as soon as possible.
You're absolutely right, Boria, because we were in fact surprised when Kedar Jadhav also walked in ahead of MS Dhoni. We've been saying that MS Dhoni needs time in the middle before he can hit those shots. We saw him hit that 6. We saw him get those boundaries. He was confident to not pass on the strike. But yes, initially there were a lot of dot balls. We didn't really see the rotation of strike. And talking about spinners, it seemed like we were not really targeting the spinners. Fabian Allen gave away some 30-odd runs in his first 5 and came back to give away less than 20 runs in the next 5. Do you feel that approach, that intent that Sachin Tendulkar talked about was once again not really visible in the initial half of MS Dhoni's innings?
He was scratching around and there's no debate on that. 5 overs for 18 from Fabian Allen. Now, Fabian Allen is no Vishen Singh Devi. I mean, Fabian Allen's left-arm spin, first 5 completely different, next 5 completely different. This is becoming, it is an issue. And you've got to question yourself. Virat was under pressure because of that period when MS got stuck. Virat was trying to egg him on, and then Hardik was under pressure because that happened. And then eventually, when he turned it around, is India 20 short? So that's the problem. I mean, and I keep saying this, that when we question intent, when we say intent, what does intent mean? Intent means you've got to rotate at least. You cannot get blocked. At some point, 5 overs for 18 runs. I think between overs 30 and 40, we scored 38, if I remember, for the loss of 1 wicket, isn't it? 1 wicket we lost, and we scored 38 runs at 3.8 between overs 30 and 40. Now, that's bad. That's actually bad. So this is where the game turns. This is where you lose 20, 25 valuable runs and the game becomes problematic. That's what India needs to address now. Question is, how quickly can we do that? Because if we don't win today, which I still think we will, because our spinners will come into the party, we've got a really good bowling attack. The wicket is dry. They will, flip it around and West Indies can go bust. Couple of wickets and they can unravel. But against England, you absolutely need to fix this, and going into the business end, there is no debate that your 4 and 5 will give you headache.
Boria, another thing that, that was starking, in fact, when we were watching the Indian innings is that it was highlighted that the West Indies haven't really, the bowlers in the West Indies lineup have hardly finished their quota of 10 overs in this World Cup, the matches that they have played, but most of them did so today. Was it that the West Indies bowlers bowled really good lines and lengths? We saw that with the captain Jason Holder. He was probably the pick of the West Indies bowlers. Or is it that the Indian batsmen were just too defensive today?
They were. I mean, the question is, were they defensive? Were they not defensive? So, were they not able to get it around, Radhika? I mean, were they defensive, or was it the fact that they got stuck? I think they got stuck. I think MS got stuck. I think Vijay Kedar got stuck a little bit. I don't think it was defensive. I do think they were unable to maneuver the ball in the initial part of the innings, which is what is plaguing me. If it was defensive, then it's a different ball game. Defensive you can address, but this is not defensive. This is, you are getting stuck time and again. And if you get stuck time and again, what is the solution to that? That's what India needs to address.
Were you impressed by Jason Holder, though, today? I said that, he probably had the best lines and lengths today. He's not the fastest of the pack, but he was brilliant today. It's not just that he picked those wickets. He created the pressure. He bowled his quota of 10 overs, and he was leading from the front today.
He has been leading from the front for quite a while for the West Indies, Radhika. So that's the whole point. I mean, Jason Holder has been a real star, the star of West Indian resurgence. So that's what I'm constantly referring to. So, India has to turn this around with the ball now. So how do we do it? Every time the bowlers can't come into the party. Today the spinners should come into the party and change it around, is what I absolutely believe will happen. But how many times will you expose the number 4-5 and your spinners will come and solve it, is the big question.
Boria, before we go on and talk about the Indian bowling and how capable they are, Rahul, I'll come across to you. And this one small incident that happened, yes, MS Dhoni got those 50 runs, helped India reach 268. But West Indies will be disappointed with what happened behind the stumps with Shai Hope. Have you seen something as easy as that being, not taken the opportunity in international cricket? West Indies will really rue that opportunity, because that wicket would have pulled back the score even further.
Well, is that to me?
Yeah, Rahul, if you could talk us through the missed opportunity.
Absolutely. And how many times have you seen Mahendra Singh Dhoni, completely clueless and being stumped by a spinner? In fact, the last game against Afghanistan, that was only the second time that MS Dhoni was stumped. Here also, he was completely clueless. Of course, what Shai Hope did, he also was clueless as far as that stumping and the ball was concerned. But yes, MS Dhoni, he had no idea where the ball was. I have greatest respect for that man for what he's done to Indian cricket. But as far as, if you see the last two games, in fact today also, yes, he did well to stay there and get to that score of 56 for himself and for the team, of course. But if you have players like Virat Kohli, at the other end, consider somebody like Kedar Jadhav who was there. It's very difficult if you don't score those runs, and somebody like Virat Kohli can still, they are natural stroke makers. Somebody like Hardik Pandya, somebody like Virat Kohli. So the pressure, invariably what it does is the pressure shifts to the batsman who's batting at the other end. So, but yes, MS Dhoni's stumping was a very, very crucial miss as far as West Indies is concerned. They would surely be ruining, but you can't forget what happened with Rohit Sharma. The on-field umpire gave it, adjudged it as not out, but the third umpire was fairly quick, despite the what replay showed. I thought that it was inconclusive, but he was quick to change that decision and ask Rohit Sharma to go off the field.
You know, Rohit Sharma did really look, he in fact looked surprised at the fact that he'd been given out, and so was his wife, who was sitting in the stands cheering on the husband. West Indies, though, would feel that decisions don't generally go their way, so they would take whatever comes. Rahul and Boria do stay on with us. Now, we've made 268 runs. The West Indies need to chase it down. And Boria, of course, mentioned that Chris Gayle at the top is going to be who India really need to stop. Now, who is India going to bank on? Well, it's the new bowler, Jasprit Bumrah, the best in the world when it comes to pace bowling. He's the #1 ranked ODI bowler, and he surely is the one weapon that India will heavily bank on as they try to stop the power-hitting West Indies. Now, Boria, Jasprit Bumrah is having a brilliant debut World Cup. Now, on the other hand, he'll be up against Chris Gayle, who doesn't really like to rotate the strike. One of the big problems, he likes to stand, take his time, hit those big shots. He celebrated saving a single today, and that is the kind of character that Chris Gayle is. But do you think Jasprit Bumrah does have the upper hand against Chris Gayle? You know, Rahul, it seems like we've lost Boria, and I'll ask you the same question. When it comes to this battle, Jasprit Bumrah, the best bowler in the world, Chris Gayle, of course, there is no question now with the power-hitting capabilities that he has, but he needs his time to settle. And one of the big things that about Chris Gayle's batting today is he really doesn't like running between the wickets, and that could, of course, build pressure. In that case, when you look at this battle, who do you think has the upper hand?
Well, I think, Radhika, it will come down to how the West Indian top order performs. As far as Chris Gayle versus Jasprit Bumrah is concerned, it's a matter of day. Who does perform on that particular day. But these boundaries in Manchester, in England, are not as short as they were in the IPL, so you have to be careful. These are not as short boundary as perhaps what you would find in maybe in Eden Gardens during the IPL, because the boundaries were boundary ropes were dragged in by quite a bit. But yes, Jasprit Bumrah up front, even Mohammad Shami, they will hold the key. And as far as spinners are concerned, these West Indian batsmen, they are power hitters. They like to hit boundaries, those big boundaries. But also what they need to do is they will have to rotate strike. How well they rotate strike would actually matter a lot as far as this particular match is concerned, because that is where India lacked against Afghanistan, against West Indies today. So if they can rotate strike, they can ease off the pressure. I think West Indies are in with a chance. But yes, up front, if you pick these couple of wickets, Chris Gayle, he started this tournament at a very good strike rate, but after that he's been off color. He's not been amongst runs. Yesterday at the press conference, he said that I rate myself right up there with the best of West Indies cricket. Maybe
the
today is the
opening
time.
partnership, in fact, Rahul, is a problem for West Indies. They have the worst average in this World Cup, and they've, of course, had to change partners as well. There was Evan Lewis, and his injury has brought Shai Hope to the top as well. The West Indies will be hoping that their openers do give them a great start. India will be hoping that it is their bowlers who come to the party and are able to defend 268, which will take India to 11 points on the table, almost on the verge of a semi-final berth. That's all that we've got for you on Lord of Lords. But stay tuned to India Today. We will be live with you post-match, telling you if India has managed to take that step towards the semi-final.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.